Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. We are 1 week from Halloween, and I want to take 10 minutes to discuss three of the death metal bands that have been getting a lot of play for me recently. Not only do all three of these bands have brand new material out there, but all three bands share a common root influence, that being old school Finnish death metal. So we're going to start off with the big name out there right now, that being Blood Incantation and their newest album, Absolute Elsewhere, on Century Media. Blood Incantation are a death metal band from Colorado who have picked up many influences as they went. Their metal influences, like I said earlier, are definitely firmly in the Finnish camp of Demilich and Demigod and so on, all the way to American bands like Morbid Angel and Immolation. I still think Starspawn, their debut full-length album, is my favorite thing released by the band. The follow-up, Hidden History of the Human Race, to be honest, I like it, don't love it. And then the follow-up to that, Time Wave Zero, was a completely ambient release that, while I enjoyed it, was very one-dimensional and samey. But they put out an EP last year that I think was a little bit of a step in the right direction. And then this new album is the culmination of all these influences that have been building over the years. Produced by Arthur Rizk, and this has two tracks here, The Stargate at 20 minutes and The Message at 23 minutes. Which song do I like better? I think the heavy parts of The Stargate is the best metal on here. But overall, I think the second song, The Message, it flows better as a song overall. A strange kind of happy metal riff that starts the song off. An epic ending, and then that progressive part in the middle is much more Pink Floyd than an over-reliance on keyboard as they use in Stargate. So for me, it's The Message, best track on here. I've seen Blood Incantation live one time. That was just over a year ago, opening for Cannibal Corpse, and they have a headlining show in Toronto in November, and that show is completely 100% sold out. I can't remember the last time I couldn't get a ticket to a club show, maybe like Electric Wizard just about 10 years ago. It's the last one I can think of, but hopefully I can get in there somehow. Last minute, someone trying to get rid of their ticket, something like that. Next up, we're going to look at Cosmic Putrefaction. I have looked at this CD once, but it was just like a 5-second glance. So, this is an Italian band, and they have put out 4 full-length albums. This is the third one. Crepuscular Dirge for the Blessed Ones on Profound Lore. So this is progressive technical death metal with lots of keyboards and interesting things sprinkled throughout. There were several times where this album had me comparing them to like a death metal emperor during the Equilibrium days. My favorite track on here is probably Cradle Wrecked, Curtains Unfurled, which is one of the more atmospheric tracks on here. But as you're going to see on the next album, those are the tracks that I like best from this band. So that brings us to their brand new album, Emerald Fires Atop the Farewell Mountains, also on Profound Lore. This is 7 tracks, about 45 minutes, and it's more of the same, but an improvement. Even though this album's only been out for like 3 weeks, it has not left my car. I've been playing it nonstop, and it's going to be one of my top albums of 2024. But my favorite songs in particular are the final 3. Swirling Madness, Supernal Ordeal. I really like the keyboards on that. Number 6, Exiting the Vortex Temporum, The Clearing Path. And finally, the closing title track. What I find interesting on there is, on my last video, I was looking at a Satyricon album and noted a striking similarity to the first Arcturus album. And the last song on here, there's a passage that just brings me right back to the second Arcturus album, La Masquerade Infernale, one of my top 10 albums ever. But again, this album starts heavy and gets progressively a little more out there as the album goes on. And the more they get out there, the more they shine. It's just basically a solo project. I think this guy's got several bands, complete virtuoso on many instruments, and Cosmic Putrefaction. Check them out. So we're going to close off this one talking about Gut Void. I discussed the debut full-length Gut Void album, Durance of Lightless Horizons, several videos ago. Gut Void are based out of Toronto, but I've always had a soft spot for them because they grew up one town over from me, about the same age as me in Newmarket. And I didn't mention Newmarket. That is the hometown of Connor McDavid, probably the best hockey player in the world, and the birthplace of both Jim Carrey and John Candy. Yeah, they were both born in the same hospital as all three of my kids. So, you know, me and Jim Carrey were obviously like that, right? But I picked up an early Gut Void EP, and they're brand new one. So we're going to look at the older one first. This is Astral Bestiary on Blood Harvest. 3 songs. They Came Dripping from the Stars is the longest song on here, but probably the weakest. The next 2 tracks, Entranced by a Frozen Dawn and Pilgrimage to the Necropolis Ruins, that's the better part of the EP here. I don't mean this in a bad way. Just this kind of death metal is something where I'm not always following the song along. It's just something that you kind of float in and just kind of exist within and just kind of listen. Gut Void are definitely the most straightforward of all the bands I've discussed today. Definitely just taking that old school Finnish sound and modernizing it and adding their own unique flavor. So that brings us to the brand new EP, Breathing Obelisk, also on Blood Harvest. And this one is 4 songs. And while I still maintain that the full-length album is the band's best material for sure, I think this is still another great collection of songs. And the highlight here is the closer, Shodar. And that's a pretty interesting song, because while death metal through and through, no compromises to their underground status, that is still a very catchy and for death metal accessible song. The chorus kind of feels more like not even a metal song. It feels like a rock song, and I think that direction could win them a whole lot of fans. And I look forward to see what the Gut Void guys do next. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.